Hey folks, Fernando doing another video for Tomorrow Survivalist, and in this video I'd like to talk about magazine capacity. Should I have my magazines fully loaded or not? Why would I want to do that? Why would I want to maybe have a couple rounds less? What is the logic behind that, and does it make any sense? First of all, let me just say this. Your modern magazines are plenty reliable. You can have your Glock 17 magazine or your Glock 19 fully loaded. Same with your Magpul magazines, your PMags. These are going to be working perfectly fine. They're super reliable, and basically the same goes for most magazines. Having said that, if you are going to be nitpicking details, how much truth is there to these theories, these myths about magazine spring setting and such? Well, first of all, it's really not really much of a myth. It's a simple physics reality. If you have a spring, you have it compressed, eventually as time goes by, you will see that change. It's just a matter of pure physics. Now, it doesn't mean it's going to be failing. If you see some of the videos, and I haven't got a magazine here that I've kept for 20 years fully loaded, I did have an experience with a magazine in a Norinco 1911, a 45 ACP 7-rounder magazine that was loaded for like 5, maybe 7 years or so, maybe more. Don't remember exactly, but it was a good amount of time. Just had it loaded, you took it to the range, shot it, no problem whatsoever. Even more so with these magazines. Now, having said that, if you want to stretch the lifespan of your magazine, or if you want to give yourself a little bit of reassurance in terms of, yes, I'm just not stretching the capabilities of the technical possibility of the magazine to its maximum, and I just want to play it safe, and I want to give it a couple rounds less in my magazine, there's really nothing wrong with that. The chances of you dying over having 15 rounds in your Glock 17 magazine over having 17 rounds, it is really, really unlikely. And there's something else you probably want to keep in mind, that it's maybe more realistic. Now, there's an article from a very old Guns and Ammo magazine. I don't remember even when that was, but probably like 15 years ago. There was a serious study done, and it pretty much showed that even reducing your magazine with just 1 or 2 rounds, it really relaxes the spring quite a bit. Those last couple rounds put the spring to its maximum effort. It's going for as good as it could possibly go in terms of engineering. Just a couple less rounds, it just gives it like, I think it was like 25% less overall pressure that the spring is exposed to. I mean, if you want to have your magazine for maximum durability 20, 30, 50 years down the road, the best thing is to leave it unloaded. That is pretty much basic common sense. You just leave it unloaded, you're not using it, and it's as fully stretched as it could possibly be. Even better, just disassemble magazine, you have the spring without any sort of pressure. That is even better if you want the magazine to keep working 100 years, 200 years from now, right? Leaving the magazine unloaded as it is plenty of relaxation for it, and you will not have a problem with it. Then there's also a matter of use, and here talking specifically about your AR magazine. If you have this magazine, you have your reliable PMag fully loaded, 30 rounds. When you are doing those reloads, if this has 30 rounds, you will have to do a little bit more efforts as to fully set it, and there's a good chance that if you're under a lot of stress, doing a quick tactical or a quick reload, whatever is the case, there's a chance that you may not fully set it and it goes like that. It happens quite a bit. Don't be, if you're one of those guys that, no, I'm super strong and I always jam it all the way in because blah, blah, blah. Okay, perfect. That's you. It makes a lot of sense that, I mean, how much of a tactical loss is it to have 28 rounds in your 30-round magazine versus those 2 rounds are going to be making that much of a difference? And if you're such a high-speed, low-drag operator, don't you have a vest with even more magazines and change before you actually ran out of ammunition? Well, that is up to you. Most people that are somewhat reasonable will see that, yes, a couple rounds less or even 1 round less in your 30-round magazine magazine is gonna be facilitating that quite a bit. To be completely honest, sometimes it depends on the gun. Some guns are better at it. This one in particular, this is a Colt M4. It's really not bad at all. It's just you notice, yes, that you have a little bit more pressure when it's fully loaded, but a couple rounds less really facilitates that quite a bit. Now, of course, there's magazines where that is not a problem. Your FAL magazine, your G3 magazine, these will rock into place, and that gives you a lot more leverage, right, to snap them in place. You're just going to be having plenty of force because of that leverage point. You're going to be having plenty of force as to have him in place, and it's not as much of a thing to load it with 19 rounds instead of 20. You know. In the case of your AR though, yeah, you will have to go like your typical pistol magazine. And one more thing regarding that, even if you're, even in your Glock, and you can just do this yourself, your Glock magazine, unload it, seats perfectly without, minimal effort. If it has 15 rounds, you have a certain amount of pressure, and if you have a fully loaded 17-round magazine, you will have to do a tad more force so as to put it in place. The thing is this: if you are used to doing some practical pistol, sport, IPSC type of stuff, and you load the magazine, and you're used to loading it with 15 rounds, and that is something you do all the time, you're used to that pressure with just 15 rounds, then you're going to be used to that even in terms of your muscle memory. Now, if you're used to using your magazines loaded to 15 rounds, and then you keep for home defense 17 rounds, and you kind of have a similar setup, there's a good chance that when you're working on muscle memory alone, it's surprising how we are used to doing the minimal effort of just putting enough pressure so as to put it in place, and that's it. If you're used to that, your 17-round magazine may not fully seat and may drop because of that muscle memory you worked up with only 15 rounds instead of 17, right? Just a tiny little detail, but that's some of the things we like to go through at times. Then there's also something else. Man, I'm trying to spare my magazines. I'm a cheap bastard. Well, maybe not so much. I mean, my HKP 7 magazines, these are quite a bit more expensive. These go for like $100 each. Sure, everyone laughs about having to replace your Glock magazines. This one, not so much. So in these cases, you may want to be a little bit more careful in terms of lifespan, durability, and stretching the life of these magazines as much as possible, because they can be a lot more expensive. For example, with your HK USB compact magazine, HK overbuilds and over-engineers their stuff to hell, and probably with those 13 rounds, I wouldn't feel as necessary to go with maybe 12 rounds if you want to go with that, but maybe not as much made in Germany. The quality of these things, I mean, Glock magazines are perfect as well, but these are stretched to the maximum engineering capability of the technology available here. German type of construction is maybe even more over engineered. One final thing, in terms of, not only is a matter of the magazine for those guns that you leave loaded for 15-20 years, many times people overlook the other part of the equation, which is the ammunition you're keeping in these. So maybe the magazine is perfectly fine, there's nothing wrong with the spring, but the ammunition you have in it is your typical brass, and there's more humidity, and you probably saw this happen to your ammo. If you have a magazine that's in rotation, usually the one exposed to the elements, the air a little bit more, is going to be like tarnishing. It's a natural rusting process. If there's more humidity, you are just a little bit more unlucky. These are dirty because of your grease, of your oils from your skin and such. They may stick a little bit more. It is unlikely to happen, but it is a possibility. If there's a lot of humidity, that may well be the case, especially after many years of that sitting in a safe or some damp drawer or whatever. That is why premium ammunition is usually nickel plated. The nickel plating will prevent that to a great degree. This is the kind of ammunition that no matter how much time goes by, this is not going to be tarnishing because of that nickel plated finish that it has. This, not so much. Little details, little things to keep in mind, but things that could happen. Folks, I hope you enjoyed this little video. If you're interested in my take in survival and preparedness, as always, consider Sweet Survival Skills. And if you bought it already and you liked it, take a second, leave a review on Amazon. That is hugely appreciated. Folks, it's going to be all for now. See you in the next video. Have an awesome day.